The real reason Nick Rekieta is in foreclosure is that his plan was foiled. And his plan was foiled by a dastardly, evil, terrible guy. And that dastardly, evil, terrible guy was me. I can say right now, because this has been bothering me since we were talking about the foreclosure on Tuesday, I am responsible for Nick Rekieta's foreclosure. And I'm busted up over it. I'm emotional over the whole thing. I'm wrought with guilt. I feel terrible. Nobody deserves this. And the fact that I've done this, it will be very difficult for me to sleep. And I can't help but think that people are going to say nasty, terrible, awful things about Nick and how stupid he is and how he doesn't pay his bills and why would you take out a mortgage on a house that's fully paid for? You're the dumbest who ever lived. You really are just the worst human being that we've ever encountered. Like, all these things are going to be said. And I feel like even though I can't stop them from being said, I can take responsibility, and this foreclosure is all my fault. The reason it's all my fault is very simple. Nick had a plan. Nick knew, although he told nobody else knew that he was in this trouble. I'm guessing that in his life, everybody found out by the newspaper notification. He didn't tell anyone, because I didn't know. April didn't know. Nobody knew that this motherfucker was not paying his bills. So his money was smoke and mirrors. He didn't have it. He didn't need to tell anybody. You know, like in movies or TV shows where a character is in a lot of trouble, but they don't tell anybody because they've got a plan and the plan's going to work out and then it'll be like it never happened. You know who Nick is? This is perfect. Nick is Jerry Lundegaard in Fargo. Remember, Jerry didn't tell his wife or his kid or Wade, his wealthy father-in-law, didn't tell him about the financial problems he's having. He only alluded to it through Steve Buscemi. Because Jerry had a plan. He ripped off these GMAC financing guys. He needed to pay them back. But he was going to have his wife kidnapped and then his father-in-law pay the ransom and everything was going to be fine. So he didn't need to tell anybody about his financial problems because he had a plan. The plan all went to shit and all of a sudden panic sets in. You don't know what to do. Nick had a plan. That's why he didn't need to tell anybody in his life about this not paying the bills stuff. He found a mark and he was going to take his mark down. He was going to convince the mark that this was a good thing for him. Take the mark's money and pay his bills. He was going to rob Peter to pay Paul. The mark was me. I've been thinking about this. You'll remember Nick tried to sell me that second house, the Baldo Bunker, as they call it. He took us through a tour. And one thing there were two things that gave me pause. I didn't think April and I were long for this world. I didn't want my kids living close to all this stuff. My kids didn't want to live there. April was out of control at this point. It was not going to work. And so I kind of obfuscated. I dragged it along. I kind of, yeah, we'll see, whatever. But when he took us through that house and I looked at all the problems it had, and I'm calculating in my head, when you go to buy a house, you're calculating in your head, how much money is it going to really cost me to buy this thing? You look for the most move-in ready house available so your total doesn't keep creeping up there. So I go through this house. It's a wreck for what they want for it. And he's all excited, and he's talking to me. Nick is selling me on this thing like it's the greatest thing for me. He's selling April on this thing like it's the greatest thing for her. And it's a common thread with Nick Rekieta that when he starts telling you about something and he's really pitching it as good for you, he's looking like, and in his mind, he believes he's being altruistic. He's being a good guy. He's not. Every time he does this, he's trying to sell you on something that he really wants that's good for him. It's, a lot of people use Breaking Bad lines when they're talking about Nick because of the drugs and everything. But remember in Breaking Bad when Jesse Pinkman told Walter White, he goes, just for once, say you want this. Somebody ought to scream that to Nick because Nick tried to sell me on this house like it was I'm giving you such a discount. And I thought about it the other day. The number he came up with specifically, remember, this house was listed on Zillow like $450. And he says to me, he goes, I'll give it to you for $350. We'll do it now. It'll be $350. And he said, we won't do realtors. We'll do FSBO. We'll do for sale by owner. And he goes, we'll avoid all the commissions. We'll avoid all the closing costs. We'll just do it between the two of us. He goes, you can set up a trust and you can be the beneficiary of the trust and you can buy it that way. This motherfucker was trying to limit his financial liability that he would have to put into the sale that he wouldn't be able to extract out of the home because he knew he needed $307,000. So he is, now that I know about the foreclosure, it all makes sense why he was trying to convince me so hard that this was such a good thing for me. No realtors. Isn't that great, Aaron? Won't that be wonderful that there's no realtors involved? $350. I'll give you $100,000 off. I don't care how good of friends you are with somebody. I don't care if it's your parents. Nobody is leaving $100,000 in equity on the table unless there's an unspecified reason. And in this case, there was. He's in hawk up to his eyeballs. And now it makes sense why he's so infuriated with me. I ruined his life. I didn't know it because I was like, he can't be mad that I divorced my wife and got out of that situation. I left, all the women for him. He gets it all. Can't be mad at me for that. I'm out of the way. Hey, the guy who lectured you on drugs told you, hey, please stop giving my wife so much cocaine and booze. Hey, please stop doing so much cocaine. It's crazy. I've sat in a bathroom with you asking you if you're going to die of a heart attack because of how many the size rails you're ripping. It couldn't be that because that's got to be nice that the goody two shoes is gone. The foreclosure makes it all make sense now. The reason he's so upset and the reason he can't let me go is because I am at fault for his financial problems. Aaron is the man who killed the Rekieta empire in Nick's mind. The way he was pushing that house on me, the way he was pushing no realtor fees, the way he was pushing no closing costs, the way he was pushing $350 instead of $450. Buddy, friend, what a great deal I'm giving you. $100,000 up. Why? Because he knows I can jump at it right away. He can take 307 and be back to square with the house again. Hell. I mean, it dawned on me that, it's not like I had to think about it a long time, but when I got away from the show and I wasn't performing and all that, I thought about, I thought about all the conversations we had about that house. And I'm like, that motherfucker, you've got to be shitting me. It all made sense. Thank you. Dive Bar says, Aaron, we didn't know beforehand. Well, that's true. I didn't know beforehand. That's why I made that confession today that Nick losing his house, or he's not losing his house. Stop. He's not losing it. I don't mean to put that out there. He's not losing his house. He'll be fine. That's why I confessed today, is because I didn't realize until now that he was pressing me so hard to buy that house and giving me such a great discount and doing it with no realtors and no commissions is because he needed a certain amount out of that house. He knew exactly how much he needed and was trying to get it and was like pitching, April and I on what a great deal it was. And here's the other thing about that. The other part of that is this motherfucker still would have been going behind my back and telling April that I'm terrible for trying to get them to stop doing drugs and I'm a monster. I'm a piece of shit and I'm a bad guy and this. He still would have been trying to break up my marriage behind the scenes and then coming to me and going, oh no, I'm trying to help. Sure you are, you lying sack of shit. But so he would have on one hand been trying to talk me into basically paying his mortgage. So Nick wanted me to pay his mortgage for him. That's what he wanted. Aaron, will you please pay my mortgage? And then behind the scenes, while I'm bailing him out financially, he would also go, April, he's a piece of shit. Hey, oh, he's garbage. Oh, he's shit. Oh, he's terrible. Yeah, he's telling us to not do cocaine. What an asshole, right? He came to me. That's what he did, too. I came to him because someone else told me they were like, they're drinking too much, doing too much. And I'm like, and I go and talk to Nick about it. He goes back to April. He's like, oh, yeah, he's coming to me and saying that you do too much drugs and you drink too much and blah, blah. And he'd flip that. And you find out later and you're like, you really are just an insecure sack of shit, aren't you? Just a broken man. And so, trying to get me to pay the old mortgage in the Silent Hill blood shower house. God damn. More and more, it's revealed that I got out by the skin of my teeth.